Hello.
Hi. Is Casey home? Can she play? Can Casey play?
Yes, just a moment. Or you're like,
No, I'm not. Go. I'm busy.
yeah, you're fun. I want to hang out with her.
Okay.
Here we go. Welcome back, everyone, to episode 5 of the Humanhood series. Humanhood is all about humanizing this human experience and making personal development more personal.
Did you love that tagline? It's so good.
I know, it's great.
Fucking great.
It's great. And shout out to our wonderful sponsors, I Do Experiences. This is a venue in South Scottsdale, which is honestly so perfect for any of your rental needs. Like, what have you used it for?
This for one.
Yes.
I've done multiple events here. I threw a healed girl house party here, which is like, you would not think to throw a healed girl house party themed event in a wedding venue.
Yeah.
But we did it and it was lit.
Yes.
It's called A Dose of Bliss.
There was also a live podcast party.
Podcast launch here, sound baths here. There was a Thanksgiving dinner gathering here. Yeah.
It's really such a beautiful spot for any of your rental needs. So check out I Do Experiences. And today I'm super excited to talk about the topic at hand, which is social dynamics, familial dynamics. Hey, maybe we'll touch on dating. I don't know.
We will.
All the social dynamics, because I feel like things are changing so rapidly over the past few years. Like, think back to when we were in high school. Things are completely different now, especially with social media and just social politics and everything. So let's dive into all of that today. But first, I want to check in. How was your holiday? How was Thanksgiving for you?
It was chill. Like, this year was really chill. It was so small. Normally, it's like me, Kai, my dad's wife's kids, their kids. And normally it's like we have to put 2 long tables together for the whole family to be able to sit. We ended up sitting at just like the round table in my, like, so if you remember when my cousin Pudge lived with me?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's back on drugs from what I hear.
Yeah.
And so he didn't come. And so then Rosalinda's kids were in Tucson and like, there was like 5 of us this year. But it's funny because initially I was sad. I was like a little bummed out that it was going to be so small. But it ended up being so nice and so peaceful and so charming and like
wholesome.
Yeah. And it was so smooth because like when we have the kids or when there's all these people in the kitchen cooking all these different things, like it could get kind of chaotic, you know? And it's like sometimes people are running late and my dad fucking hates that. So then he gets all anal about timing. So then there's all this energy in the room, you know, like all these different personalities and energies in the room. And sometimes it can get a little crazy.
Right.
So it was actually really nice, really great. And then I did have a date on Friday.
Okay. Tell me more.
Yeah. So I've been out of my long-term relationship for almost 2 years now. Have only dated one other person since then. So, bitch, I'm new to dating, okay? Like, I have not really put myself out there like that. Even though I do have a deep desire for a partnership and to build a family.
Yeah.
But I've created all these stories about how I want to meet my person or where I want to meet my person and all this stuff. And anyways, long story short, I fucking made a dating app profile, bitch. Oh my God. I was so embarrassed. I felt so embarrassed. I had so much resistance to it. But I had a conversation with this relationship coach that was at the podcast launch event that was here.
Yeah.
Her name is Emily Freeman. Shout out to Emily and her amazing husband who talked me into just being more open to where my person could possibly come from.
Yeah.
And they met on Bumble. So they were like, we met on a dating app and we're madly in love with each other and married now. So I was like, oh, okay. So anyway, made the fucking profile. And less than 24 hours later, I already like
got swiped on.
Had a date with But it's funny because we actually already knew of each other. We had a mutual friend in common and he was really close with her and I was really close with her. And so we always like knew of each other. And so he's not like a total foreign, complete stranger, but we just never met in person. Anyways, the date was great. He's a wonderful human being. We're planning on potentially seeing each other this upcoming weekend. So we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. You know, it's so interesting while people are dating, they feel like, especially in this phase in our life, they have to be this type of person because I'm in my 30s and like this is the person who I'm looking for. But we also have to remember that when you're in a relationship with someone, they're never going to stay that person.
Right.
They grow and they change with you.
Right.
And so the person like you're being open to right now, like that's not going to be the same person you're dating or married to 5 or 10 years down the road.
Yeah.
And so knowing that there's going to be flaws and things that you don't love about this person to start with, but you start to co-regulate with one another and change and pick up on each other's habits and whatnot.
Yeah.
And we have to be more open to where we meet these people.
Yeah. And another thing too is like just being super realistic about what you're requiring out there. Because it was like, I wanted somebody who has my same mindset, who's in the paradigm that I'm in, who thinks like very similar to me, shares my lifestyle. There's certain things that are absolutely non-negotiables, right? Yeah. But like in my last situation, the person that I was dating, like we were so aligned when it come to like our minds and our lifestyles and our eating habits and our values and our political views and all these different things. But the partnership aspect was lacking, like how to show up as my person, how to show up as my partner and have me feel fulfilled by that was lacking. Like the emotional side of things, you know? And so I'm like, well, I had somebody who was like all these things over here, but then lacked this. And then what if then there was like, not somebody that I dated, but somebody that was interested in me and was like, well, they have all these things, but I don't feel a magnetism towards them in that way. But they have all these things that I say that I want. Yeah. So I'm just like, bitch, you gotta be really mindful about what like you're being super fucking picky about and like what really, really matters to you and not like, oh, they have to look like this or dress like this or da-da-da or, you know. Yeah. But then again, everybody does have their things that like, but that really does matter to me. Like, like style matters to me.
Really?
Yes. Style matters to me.
Okay. I don't mind too much about style.
No, style. I'm like, you have to have style.
Okay.
Yeah. That's like a thing. Like, I don't want to have to teach you how to dress, boo.
But it can be taught.
It can. Yeah. But to me, it's like meeting somebody who already has style. To me, style is an expression of your essence. Right. It's an expression of like your personality and your character. It's like your soul swag in a way. You know? That's how I view it. Yeah. So it's like you've got flavor, you've got taste when you have style.
I see that.
Yeah. It's deeper than just the physical. Like, yes, I like the way it looks, but I love the energy of you knowing how to put it together.
It's an art. Yeah.
Yes.
Putting it together.
Yes.
It's an expression.
Yes.
Yeah. It's interesting. Brian and I are very, very similar, but we're also very different. But I think about it, and if he thought exactly the way that I thought, we'd be going crazy in that house.
Yeah, totally.
I am an overthinker, and I'm constantly like analyzing and diving into this stuff. And he's just so low key that it brings that balance. And there are things that we are highly aligned on, but then there's those complete differences. Yeah. And it's actually a relief because I'm like, yes, it's great to have someone so immersed in the personal development space. Like that sounds good on paper, but we know what that comes with because we're in it.
Totally.
I wouldn't want a partner who's that deep in it as I am.
See, and I thought to myself that I would like really, really prefer somebody to be in my realm. Yeah. And now I'm like, they don't need to be in my realm. They just need to be like, about it themselves. Yes. Like health and wellness and having a positive mindset. You don't have to be fucking reading personal development books every day. Right. But as long as you embody a certain level of wellness and high quality mental health and you value that and that matters to you, cool. You don't have to come to breathwork with me, baby. Right. Like, it's all good, you know?
Yeah, actually, in fact, don't come to breathwork with me.
Or like, you know, so yeah, because I've seen many women in our community who are married to men who are not involved in our community or our industry at all.
Mine's not.
Yeah.
Mine is not at all. He's
Yeah.
never come to one of my sessions. He's
Yeah.
never done one of those sessions. He just is starting to read his first book a few weeks ago.
Go Brian!
Go Brian, go!
Brian!
And it's funny because people will come to it at their own time, and all I care about is that you support me in what I'm doing.
Right.
And he does wholeheartedly. He's like, you go do whatever you need to do, the retreats, the thing. You go facilitate this work for people. This is great. But I'm just not inserting myself in that space.
Yeah.
And that doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
He has this completely different world, which I don't love to insert myself in either because it's very different. But that's okay. That's what makes us different people. And that's what brings flavor and variety to a partnership and a relationship.
Yeah.
So I actually love it. I'm kick back, watch football,
Do you,
chill
boo.
out, do your little attorney work. And I'll be over here.
I'll be over here doing my series with Mel.
I know. He's like, what'd you do today? I'm filmed an amazing episode with Melanie. He's like, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
It is fun.
Love that for you, babe.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for supporting that.
Yeah, it's interesting because just going into the topic of social dynamics in general is the level of acceptance that we desire, and I noticed that even coming up for me as I've been exploring this new person is when we're talking and wanting to share certain things, there's a thought that's oh, but what if they don't like that?
Yes.
And then I'm then the other voice is well, then if they don't like that, then good. That they might not be for you then, or that might not be the person, So I vibe checked pretty I vibe checked. I was I said some shit, and then my eyes were oh, how's he gonna feel about this?
Yeah.
Because he had asked me about my birthday and if I had any birthday plans and stuff. And I told him, I'm going to Orlando with my friends. I'm speaking at this conference, and knowing the friends that I'm going to go with, I was knowing us, at some point we'll probably eat some mushrooms. Yeah. Because if he was oh, no, hell no, then I would be fuck, I love to eat mushrooms at least a few times a year.
Yeah.
So if you're not down with that, then we're probably not right for each other, because I am very responsible and very well put together. And I like to get wild every now and then.
Totally.
Okay? I like to get a little weird every now and then.
Yeah.
And I need somebody who's going to be supportive of that or down to get weird with me.
Totally.
And so when I said that, I was ooh. Yeah, how's he gonna feel? And that was pretty early on in the conversation.
Yeah.
So
he's I'm on mushrooms right now. You're okay, that's a little too much.
he was just oh, okay, cool. He's I love me a little microdose every now and then, or even a full dose here and there.
Portobello. You're no, honey, not.
So I was and then so I told him, I was vibe check, pass.
Okay.
So. But it's funny how we do have these aspects about us, even aspects about us that we don't usually share on social media, because I don't just usually go on my social media and be yeah, I did mushrooms this weekend and this is what my trip was like. No, I'm having those experiences on my own with my people, and I'm keeping that to myself. And I'm usually only telling people who I feel will not judge me for it.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's a thing. As you are an adult and you have pretty much a pretty solid established foundation of who you are and what you enjoy, what you don't like. Yeah. And obviously we're always changing, but you're I know who the fuck I am and what I'm about right here and now. And who am I going to be able to connect to that's going to resonate with that, that's going to be able to play with that, that's going to be able to fuel that, that's going to be able to connect with that. And so just the social dynamics of feeling safe enough to be really honest about who you are and what you're about, instead of feeling oh, I don't want to tell them that I like to eat mushrooms, or I don't want to tell them that I, do this every now and then, or I don't want to tell them that I like to go to a rave every now and then, or whatever. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
So, well, even in friendships, because you start to make a lot of new friends also, like especially in your 30s, I feel like is when you start to cultivate new and different friendships.
Yeah.
And I found myself at times like monitoring what I say around certain people. And I even felt that way with you when you and I first started getting close. Yes, because you're such just a powerful, strong woman. And I know I am too, but where you come from and your mindset and like who you've worked with, your mindset is just so top tier.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I almost feel like, okay, would my weird ass humor be accepted? Or like maybe if I didn't say something that was positive, I was just like in a funk having a bad day saying something like, can she hold that? You know what I mean? Yeah. And like I find that coming up in different friendships, but also leaning into the, who can you be your truest, most authentic self with and not be judged for it?
Yeah.
And so that comes up in all sorts of dynamics, even family as you get older, because now you're not the child anymore.
Oh, yeah.
But you're like, do I share this with my parents or not? Like, am I going to get in trouble for saying this?
Yeah. Bitch, I mean, I ain't getting in trouble. You can't get me in trouble. The fuck? I'm grown.
I know.
But for me, it's not, am I going to get in trouble? It's like, are you going to feel a way about me? Like, you can't get me in trouble, bitch. Like, I live on my own, okay? I make my own rules, but.
I know. But is there anything that you, like, have done in your life that you feel like you would not want to tell your dad? Because you might get in trouble.
Well, at one point, yeah. But I feel like just the space that I'm in with my dad now, especially after, like, the conversation that we had that I shared a few episodes ago, one of the things that I was the most afraid to tell my dad was that I was managing an escort service.
And you told him that?
I told him that.
When?
And he was like...
During the conversation?
No.
Oh, before.
I don't fucking know why. This is...
Like, I would be terrified to tell my family that.
Yeah, like, I don't know why I felt so comfortable and safe to say it at this moment, but we were at my nephew's first birthday party.
Perfect timing.
We were like in the backyard chilling. I don't know how it came up, but it came up and I was like, yeah, you don't know this about me, but yeah, I used to manage an escort service. I used to manage a few hoes. He was like, what?
Majita.
He's like, ay, cabrona. And I'm just like, he's like, what the fuck? And I was like, yeah, then he's like, how the fuck did you get into that? And so I started telling him the story and stuff like that. But I guess it's different because my dad's been an addict. He's been an alcoholic. Mm-hmm. He went to prison. He did all the fucking things, He knows what it's like to be in a certain point in your life and make awful decisions.
Yeah.
And so he's just like, what the fuck? All right. Like, I would have never thought that.
Yeah.
But he wasn't judgmental about it. He was just like, fucking A, Mel. That was more... that was more like his response.
Yeah, he just gets up, walks away. He's like, whatever.
I think one of the things that I would probably in the past that I guess he still doesn't know unless you're watching this, Dad, is how much I used to take ecstasy.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I was raving a lot. Like, girl, I went through a hardcore rave phase in high school and I was raving like every weekend and I was taking ecstasy like every weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's a conversation that I would be very scared to share with my parents.
But again, if I did tell him, and if you are listening...
Do you think he's going to watch this?
Who fucking knows? Who knows?
He has it on the background while he's cleaning the house.
I'm like, I did all this ecstasy. But again, like, I was wild, girl.
Yeah.
I was wild. But then also simultaneously... They can't blame me.
Right.
Because I grew up. So that's another thing when it comes to like social dynamics and how you play and how you party or how you operate is what you were exposed to growing up. Because my dad was a crazy ass skydiver who all his homies were crazy ass skydivers. And every single day, every weekend, after a long day of skydiving, they would fucking rage, bitch. They would all get shit-faced drunk and be throwing like sofas into a bonfire type shit. Like crazy party animals.
Yeah.
Like for real. So I grew up around party animals. My dad was a party animal. My mom was a party animal. My mom's mom was a party animal. So I was like, I was exposed to that very young, you know? And so I got a little party animal in me a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's still in there to a degree. Like every now and then I like to go out and fucking turn up, bitch.
Yeah. That's so funny. Yeah, I mean,
For real.
no, it is fun. It is. And it's interesting because for a while I didn't think that my upbringing really affected my behaviors, which is so dumb to say because we know it. But I'm looking back at like the things that I did and like the drugs that I used. And I'm like, oh, okay, like maybe there is a connection there, which is really interesting because for the longest time, I'm like, no, that like didn't impact me at all.
Right.
But it definitely did.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And it's funny how, again, like going back to the friends that we make now, like in our 30s, is when you do make those new friends, like, for example, Patricia, like her and I became new friends not that long ago. We met shortly after, like, P and I had separated. So almost a little under 2 years ago. But like you said, she comes into my life. She sees me as who I am now, you know, coach for Tony and Dean. I'm doing all these events and all this stuff. And people have this image of you. They have this idea of you. And with that idea of you, they create this idea of who they have to be with you.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Yeah, they have to be with you in order for you to accept them or to embrace them or whatever. And I remember, like, her and I, we just like clicked, like we were just magnetized towards each other fast.
Yeah.
It was very easy and effortless. But I remember when we met at Soul Revival in Tucson, which was like this conscious spiritual conference, very like high vibe energy. And then like one time she had invited me out with her and her husband, but she had never experienced me out before. And I'm fun, bitch. Okay, if we're going out, we're gonna have fun.
Yeah,
I can have sober fun, I can have tequila fun. What kind of fun do you want? What's the vibe, you know? What vibe am I in? But I always have so much fun. And so that night we were taking like some tequila shots and she was like, it's so weird to see you in this space. She's like, but I love it. Like I love that you're like this. I'm like, what do you mean? Again, we're a new friend. So to me, I'm like, this is who I am. But she didn't know me like that.
Yeah.
So she doesn't know that I'm going to go out and then I'm going to throw back a tequila shot and be dancing and having a good time, like as free as I am, you know, because I'm also very responsible and I'm very well put together. I'm not like sloppy about it.
Yeah.
But she was like, okay, like we can have fun together. I love this about you.
Yeah.
But again, it's like the projections. It's the projections that we place on people.
Yeah.
You know?
And what I love about these new friendships that I'm forming is that I've never seen any of you drunk and you have not seen me drunk.
Yeah.
Because I stopped drinking 4.5 years ago. And a lot of my friendships and social outings were around drinking. And what I love about the time that we spend together is that it is real, solid, sober connections.
Yeah.
Like even at my birthday last year, like all the girls were there and there wasn't any alcohol. And everyone was just laughing and having fun and like really being themselves in that environment.
Yeah.
And to me, like that's a message I want to spread more is the importance of cultivating sober connections.
Yes, so important.
And that's not to say you can't drink and you can't do this stuff, but how solid are your relationships and friendships in a sober environment?
Right.
Because when you stop drinking and you take yourself out of that and then you insert yourself where people are drinking and you're not, you see it in a very different light.
Right.
And it's interesting because you kind of go into these environments and sometimes you're like, oh, I was only here because we were like drinking friends.
Right.
Or I only felt like having fun here when I was drinking, but now it's like not actually fun.
Yeah. And we don't actually vibe.
Yeah. We don't. I actually don't love who you are when you drink. And so for me, I've loved having so many sober connections. And that's the point in my life where I'm like, I love that. And not to say I'll never not drink again or whatever it is. And I can be around people who are drinking, but that's been a really beautiful chapter in my life of exploring this sobriety in all the different environments, being sober.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you say that, because even though I do drink, all of my friendships that I'm very close with now, I did not meet them in those types of environments, you know? So I remember like what you were just saying, like there were so many friendships that I had in the past that the way that we met was under the influence.
Right.
You know? Opposed to now, all the people that I'm super closely connected to are people that I'm either like meeting in our industry or meeting friends of a friends or, you know, whatever. And like you said, cultivating those friendships that are your sober friendships. But I love my party girlfriend.
Yeah.
I love my party girlfriends. Yeah. But even then, it's like, I used to be able to have friends that are like, these are my party friends and these are my conscious, healthy friends. And now there's no separation. I don't have friends, or I really can't have friends who are only that.
Right.
Like I used to just be like, oh, I'll call her when I want to go out.
Right.
You know, like now all of my friendships have to have this. And if they have this, great. Like I have my friends who I'm like, if I want to step out, this is who I'm calling. But the reason why this part has to be there is because there still has to be, for me, for like my social dynamic requirements, is like you still have to be a grounded person.
Yeah.
You still have to be like a certain type of woman for me to want to spend time with you. Yeah. You know, like just having fun with you and partying or whatever is not enough. It has to be that I enjoy your energy, that I respect you, that you maintain integrity while we're out, that you're not doing things that I'm like, girl, you know, like you still have to have a certain type of character.
Yeah. And
that's a non-negotiable for me, bitch, because I will, one thing that I will not do is hang out with a woman that I don't respect. I don't give a fuck how fun you are. Like if I don't respect you just like as a woman, or but another one, if I don't respect you as a mother, if you're a mom, and I cannot be friends with you.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. And unfortunately, alcohol brings out those characteristics in people. Not all the time. Some people are completely the same, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
And then some people, you do see that other side. And so it's interesting because I've yet to be, again, in our friendship, see one of you drunk where I would have a different perspective on you.
Well, these days I drink, but I don't really get drunk like that.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I used to drink to get drunk.
Right.
And if I'm drinking, I'm getting drunk.
Right.
But every once in a blue moon, I'll have a night where I'm like, damn, bitch, you drank a lot last night. You were pretty toasty.
Yeah.
But it's so rare. I like to have a few drinks and like be here.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I'm not like, I can't imagine you seeing me drunk, honestly. It's a very rare occasion.
Yeah.
It is.
And so for me, it's almost like, okay, if I were to see you completely shit-faced and you were out of character and you were misbehaving, you know, so to speak.
Right.
I am curious, like, how I would feel about seeing that version of you.
Totally.
And if, I think it depends on what was happening. Right. Because there's obviously, okay, she's drunk acting stupid, or it's like she's drunk and, you know, she's cheating on her partner, or like whatever levels to this stuff.
Right.
But yeah, I think about that. Have you ever been around someone who you respected sober, but then saw a different side of them in an environment where there were drinks or substances involved, and you were like, I kind of have a different outlook on you now?
It's been so long.
Yeah.
You know, not really.
That's great.
Yeah, but another thing too is like, I really am the least judgmental human.
Yeah.
Like, there really is not very much of a judgmental bone in my body unless you're like bad to children. Like I said, like if you're a horrible mom or something, like
Yeah.
I can't get down with stuff like that, or if like you harm children or something. But when it comes to like somebody having a human moment where, you know, I'm just like,
Yeah.
that wasn't cute, but like let's handle that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting that you say that, because I am in a lot of environments where people are drinking. And honestly, I've gone through phases of when I first stopped drinking, I was very judgy. Like, I'm better than everyone. You all suck, you losers. And then obviously moved through that. That was a deep process.
She said, you losers.
You are losing. And then I pulled myself out of that. You know, you go through these phases.
Yeah.
And now I can be in environments where people are drinking and I'm not judgy.
My dad was like that too.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think everyone goes through it. Even if you were to stop completely, I would argue you would maybe go through that a little bit. I think it's a natural thing for everyone to go through when you are like the only sober one in the room all the time. But now I'm in these environments and I'm fine with it, but there's a layer and level in which I've had enough. So it's usually when people are getting to the point of it's no longer a few casual drinks. You are now like definitely under the influence. And when I'm talking to you, you're kind of slurring your words. You're getting a little too freaking close to me. You don't know where personal space is.
Right.
You're repeating yourself. And now I just know like you're really not present in the conversation.
Right.
So I don't really want to waste my energy being in this conversation. And that's usually when I remove myself either from that conversation or just the event in general, depending where everyone's at. It's usually a few hours in. I'm like, okay, I think I've had enough.
You know what? Actually, now that we're talking about this, I feel like I actually have had that experience a little bit. And I think it's with my mom, you know, because she struggles with alcohol and she does her best to not get drunk. She'll always drink around me.
Yeah.
But she doesn't get drunk around me. And so I think like any time where I did see her a little bit more, I was just like, whoa, ma. Because she hides her shadows from me constantly. She'll like tell me about them a little bit, but she does her best to not ever let me see them. And which is interesting because her and my sister have a totally different relationship. And my sister sees every layer, every shadow of my mom. But my mom looks at me like, you're Melanie, my daughter that's like this. And I don't want you to see me like this.
Right.
But she's totally fine with my sister seeing her like that.
Isn't that funny?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so weird. Like, the different relationships in the family, you know? But yeah, now that I think about it, I think it's like when I've seen my mom in certain places where I'm like, dang, I've never seen you like that before.
Yeah.
Like you usually keep that side of you away from me, you know?
I've had family members where that shows up also. And it sucks because you kind of like as a child, or not even as a child, but as the child, even if we're not little anymore, it's like that rapport is broken. For me.
Yeah.
It's like you're no longer there. It's almost like this fog takes over your body. That's how I see it. Like I'll instantly know when their mind is like no longer there when they've gone too far drinking. And to me, it's like this fog I can see. And I'm like, okay, like you're not there anymore and that's okay. And then I start to pull back a little bit. And maybe that's something I need to work on. Like how can you maintain engagement? And maybe that is a form of judgment. But when that fog goes up, I'm like, that connection is broken.
Yeah.
And now why do I want to be in this connection anymore?
Yeah, I think for me, like going back to my mom, it doesn't feel like judgmental energy. For me, it feels more like, oh, I've never experienced you like this. It's like surprised a little or like shocked, or it kind of comes to me up for me that's like, I don't know this side of you. I don't know you as well as I think I do, or I only know one version of you.
Yeah.
You know, it like makes me feel like I don't really know you that well. You know what I mean?
And that's interesting because kind of like how you felt like your dad didn't really know you.
Oh, no, he totally didn't.
You were showing up in a certain way. And we put on these little masks and facades out of
Right.
survival.
Right.
And so I'm curious if your mom, like which version of her, and I'm sure they're all a version of her, but maybe she's putting on this mask hard when she's around you 24/7.
She is.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
And so-
everybody knows it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so usually children put on that mask to be accepted by their parents. But if the parent is putting on the mask to be accepted by their child, that's so much pressure on your mom.
Yeah.
The thought that she has to put on this mask for you to love her.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting that you say that because my dynamic with my mom is that like I'm her mom. And she'll say that. She'll be like, you're the mom in this relationship. And I'm like, I know. You know?
Yeah.
So it's like we have such an interesting dynamic, my mom and I. We really do.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. I love her to death though. She's amazing.
Yeah.
She really is. Like everybody has their stuff, you know. She's not perfect. I've learned a lot through my relationship with my mom when it comes to accepting people, loving them where they're at.
Yeah.
Because she's where she's at. And I don't know how much of that will ever change, you know? And so, like, I've done my best to help her in her sobriety because she is an alcoholic. And she's tried for so long, so many times.
Yeah.
And I've actively gotten very involved in that. And then she's still drinking.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like, even this past weekend, I was at my niece's birthday party in my hometown. And my mom's family, they are drinkers. Like, big time. That's how everybody connects, is we're drinking together. That's how everybody has fun. Like, first thing in the morning, sometimes they're just cracking open a beer type of thing, you know?
Yeah.
So I have to be really, really mindful myself because in the past where I used to fuck up was I felt like the only way for me to connect with them, because I felt like an outsider from my mom's family for so much of my life that I felt like the only way for me to connect with them was to drink with them, you know? And now I'm so not in that place.
Yeah.
But I have to be really, really mindful when I'm with them to not engage in it. Sometimes I didn't drink at all when I went to my niece's party, but then sometimes I am in the mood to drink with them and they will party and drink all night long, girl.
Yeah.
And I have to be like, okay, hold on, let me make sure that I'm good.
Yeah.
You know, because she could pop off.
We had that typical Mexican Hispanic party vibe too at our house, you know, where people always say like Mexicans will party till 5 a.m. Like they crack open a new bottle of tequila at 4:30.
Literally,
That's
no,
literally what happens. Yeah.
Literally.
And it's like the white boyfriend's going to sleep and it's like they just cracked another bottle. That's definitely how my family was too. We'd like we'd be notorious for having these really fun like Christmas Eve parties and birthday parties for like abuelita and stuff like that. And it was so much fun. And it's fun drinking with your family
because you're safe with your family.
You're usually at a house, you're staying there, like everything's great. But circling back to this is if everyone is used to that, can everyone be sober at that same birthday party and still have the level of fun and connection?
Right.
And I would probably argue that many people couldn't.
Right.
And I feel like that's what's worth exploring in your life when you're in these environments. Can I go to this happy hour with these friends and not drink?
Yeah.
Can I go to this party and not drink?
Yeah.
Or am I using alcohol as a crutch for whatever reason?
Yeah.
That's the exploration and the curiosity that can be really fun if you want to dive into that.
Totally. Yeah, that's a deeper level of building just like a different relationship with yourself, actually. Because I used to party so hard and take ecstasy and do the party drugs and drink a lot, when I did shift and I did change and I wasn't drinking as much or even at all, and I wasn't, like, I remember when I went to my first festival and didn't do anything. It was just like sober the whole time. It was great.
Yeah, it's great.
I had such a great time. But again, that's like you're solidifying your own character in an anchored way that is really just you. It's not you under a substance. It's not you under a certain type of, state of being.
Yeah.
It's just like, this is just who I am.
Yes.
So now I'm like, I'm going to have fun no matter what I'm doing, where I'm going, what the situation is. I'm always going to have a good time because now I have social proof that I'm capable of having a good time no matter what, no matter if there's no alcohol, if there's no weed, if there's no mushrooms, if there's no anything.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to enjoy myself no matter what. And sometimes, actually, as of lately, a lot of times, I prefer to just be soberly present,
It really is this level of enjoyment, of true enjoyment. I was debating when I was exploring if I wanted to be sober or not or quit drinking. It was right before my wedding. And we went to Mexico for my wedding, Cabo, and I love tequila. I'll throw it out there. I love it. And so I obviously had intentions of drinking, and I wasn't putting that pressure on myself. But we had this beautiful welcome dinner. We had the wedding, obviously. And then we had a boat outing the next day. And the welcome dinner, I was like, you are not drinking. Don't drink. And I had the best time ever. The memories that are ingrained are so sweet and powerful, like from how delicious the food was to how beautifully presented it was to everyone, what they were wearing and the colors and just everything. I remember being so happy that I did not drink that night.
Yeah.
And then the wedding night came and I was like, I'm drinking.
She's like, I'm getting fucked up tonight.
I mean, this is how much I used to drink. We had tequila shots being passed around the entire night. No one didn't have a shot in their hand at one point.
Yeah.
And definitely drank, had fun. The boat outing, didn't drink. And so as I looked back on that, I honestly wish I didn't drink at the wedding. Because yes, I remember it. Obviously, it was beautiful, but the memories are not as delicious as the other times when I didn't drink.
Yeah.
And that was a real moment for me of reflection and insight of realizing like, yes, I can have fun and it actually is more enjoyable to taste all the flavors and remember all the colors and just really experience it fully.
Yeah.
And then it was a few months after I was like, I'm done. We're not drinking anymore. We're over this.
And you haven't drinking ever since?
No.
Wow.
No.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. It's truly one of the best decisions I've ever made. Out of all the crazy health things we've done, freaking colonics, ozone, IV therapy, all this stuff, like drinking, I really firmly believe is one of the best things or not drinking is one of the best things you can do for your body, your mind, everything, point blank.
I'm like, maybe one day I will commit to a full sober life, but for now, I love me some tequila.
Yeah. And you know what? The thing is like I'm speaking to the person who is getting the itch that they don't want to drink anymore.
Yeah.
Like if you love it and you enjoy it and you feel fine, like
and you're responsible with it.
Yeah.
Because if I had an issue and if I was like in a certain, then I would be like, fuck, bitch, you should probably give this up.
Right.
You know, like if you do have a certain relationship with it and you're aware of it, that's a different story.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But for the average person who has a healthy relationship with alcohol and they feel fine and it's like not that deep for them, like whatever, I feel great, no biggie. This message isn't for you. It's for the person who I know has been thinking like, I want to quit drinking, but it's tough.
Yeah.
Or I wake up and I have awful anxiety and I'm having these weird intrusive thoughts for a couple of days and it only happens after I drink. Or you're on vacation and you're freaking hungover all day in bed and you're like, I would rather be out like enjoying the day, but I'm here hungover and sick. Like, why'd I do this again?
Yeah.
I'm speaking to that person because that's where I was. And when people would share these stories of sobriety, I was like, thank you for giving me permission to explore this deeper and to choose another way.
Yeah.
So this message is for that person who's out there.
Yeah. And I think it's really dope that you and I are such a beautiful example of how you can still powerfully, lovingly, safely coexist with people, the right people, of course, the supportive people who maybe are the complete opposite than you in that sense. Because I don't get to party with Casey the way that I like to, but I don't need to, because our friendship is just so fruitful and so fun in its own way. Yeah. And I love our dynamic for exactly what it is. And Casey knows that I like to drink tequila and have fun and stuff. And she doesn't judge me either. She's just like, do you, Mel? Have fun, girl. You know? And we're able to still have the relationship that we have. Because I think not even just giving up alcohol, but making any big social change in your life, whether that's like a new religion or a new whatever the big change is, a lot of people are afraid to lose friendships.
And they will lose friendships.
They will.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, that's just a part of the process. Like, those are the sacrifices that you have to be willing to make in order for you to be able to evolve into the person that you really feel great about being. And I remember, like, when I fully committed myself to the personal development path, one of my best friends at the time, she was one of my party friends. And she was like, I see that this is who you really are. Because I moved to LA, and that's when like my transformation happened. And then I came back to Arizona, and I was like a totally different person. And she was like, where the fuck did my friend go? What happened to my friend? And she's like, I see that this is like really, that this is real. And it's like not a facade. And this is like really who you are now. She's like, sometimes I don't always want to talk about what you want to talk about. Sometimes this is what like really solidified, like, okay, we're not gonna be friends anymore. She was like, sometimes I just want to talk shit. And I was like, I do not. She's like, I just miss the old you. And I was like, girl, well, you gonna be missing her for the rest of your days, because she ain't ever coming back. And like, if that's the version of me that you love more than this version of me, this healthy, high vibrational, high quality version of me, then we don't belong together, boo. And we stopped being friends. Like, we had like an official friend breakup. Like that day, it was hard. It was hard. And every now and then, like, I see her on social media, and it's like, it feels weird. You know? But that's another thing, like friend breakups, bro. God, they're hard.
They're so hard.
Accepting when somebody is no longer meant to be a part of your path, especially when they were a part of your path for so long, is so hard. But it can also be, just like a lot of things, so hard, but so worth it. So worth it, because then it makes space for people like you.
I know. You know. That's the beauty of it. And that's with everything, right? Like, that concept of making space, what does that actually mean? It's like, well, if you clean out your refrigerator, you literally now have space.
For new things.
Yeah. It really is the same thing in our lives. But what I'm finding is, like, yes, the friendship breakups, but also those natural drop-offs, like where the communication just becomes less, and it's like, where do we stand?
Yeah.
That's been really interesting for me as well.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. And sometimes those natural drop-offs, like I've had one this year with a friend that I was very, very close with. Still love her, will always love her. But there's been a very natural drop-off.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I'm not feeling compelled to continue connecting.
Right.
It's not like in my mind, like, I want to call so-and-so or I want to hang out with so-and-so.
Yeah.
It's just like, we're just in different spaces and different vibes. And like, I have stopped calling and you have stopped calling.
Right.
So we just don't talk anymore. But we didn't get in a fight.
Yeah.
I don't got beef with you. Like, I don't think negatively of you. Like, I love you. I wish you the best. But I'm just not feeling drawn to our connection anymore.
Right. And
know?
we think it's like we're not feeling drawn to it, but they're not being drawn to our connection either anymore.
We don't realize how mutual it actually is sometimes.
It really is more than not.
Yeah.
Super mutual.
Yeah, because like, you're not hitting me up. So, you know?
Yeah.
I know. God.
The friendship thing is heavy, but I feel like this past few years I've met so many wonderful, wonderful humans. Like
Same.
I feel so fulfilled with my friendships.
Same.
When a few years ago I did not have these friendships. And you introduced me to a lot of people, which I'm super grateful for. But it's so fulfilling having solid people in your life to call on when you need something, to call on when you need help or support, or just to have fun with.
Yeah.
Just to have like good, wholesome fun.
Time.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so amazing. I never really realized the importance of having solid friendships like that until recently, and how much it really, really fills me up.
Yeah. Because a lot of people, and I've noticed this too in like some of my relationships, is some people really rely on their partner to fulfill all of their social needs.
Right.
You know, a lot of people rely on their romantic relationship to be the thing that really fulfills them. And that can be so draining for the person that you're with who's like, go get your own friends.
Yeah.
You know, like totally. But relationships, one thing that I've learned, literally, relationships are the most valuable thing on the planet. Like our relationships are the most valuable thing on the planet.
Yeah.
They are what keep us afloat. Like for real, every relationship, family relationship, friend relationship, romantic relationship, work relationship, creative, whatever the relationship is.
Yeah.
Like the art of relationships. And we may have talked about this. I feel like I'm saying this again, but it's so crucial. But then that goes back to your own self-mastery and your own self-refinery, how you're able to show up in your dynamics with these people. You know, like if you are not in the mood to have a drink that night and everybody else is, and you're like, nah, I'm cool. But also you can just kick it with everybody and it's fine.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
or if like whatever it is, it's about you being able to manage your own self, manage your own energy, manage your own state of being, and be able to harmoniously coexist with people.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know?
I feel like in our space, it's easy to isolate. I think all of us go through that at one point.
Yeah, isolation is a step.
It's a step
it's a part of the
journey.
spiritual path for sure, and it's necessary.
It is necessary.
It's necessary, and it's not just a one-time thing.
Yes.
Like it's like a
You're in and out.
yeah.
But there's also another layer of mastery, like you said, of being able to integrate yourself back into the social norms and be okay with it and not show up in this weird judgy energy and be able to have fun and be able to do human things, because going to a bar is a human thing.
Right.
Going to a holiday party is a human thing.
Right.
But can you actually be regulated? Do you have capacity within your own being to show up in this space solid in yourself?
Right.
And that's a whole other step.
Yeah. Don't be out here a social chameleon, boo.
Yeah.
Don't be out here a social chameleon. You just turn into whoever you're with. Like,
Yeah.
if you're that person, then isolation might be very important for you.
Yes.
You know? But like knowing who you really are, or choosing who you want to be and standing firm in that. So critical.
We talked about this a couple episodes ago, but being the example, I always like to come from that energy when I'm in these spaces. Because again, I know there are people out there who are just drinking because that's what everyone else is doing.
Right.
And they're just going along with it. But I know that they don't want to be. And so me showing up sober, my vibrant self, being myself with the water bottle in my hand, like that is being the example that someone can see and have, again, be granted permission to maybe put down their drink and grab a water bottle.
Right.
You know, so I actually love, like when I used to be really against being in these environments because I was judgy. And then now that I'm in this space, I'm like, I get to show up and be that example that other people were for me. Because when I saw people who were just having just as much fun as everyone else on the dance floor, dancing, having a great time, and they were sober as fuck, I was like, you are the person who I want to be one day.
Yeah.
And it was so inspiring.
Yeah. It reminds me of a couple years back at retreat, at the end of retreat, we did, after Goddess Gathering, we had a chief and chill.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, one of the retreaters, she came up to me before the chief and chill, like, was happening. And she was like, hey, like, after dinner, she's like, I'll just leave. And I'm like, why? She's like, because I don't smoke. So, like, I don't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable that I'm not smoking.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, girl, nobody gives a shit if you smoke or not. There's plenty of women here who are not gonna smoke. Like,
yeah, I did not smoke.
Yeah, well, you had a little bit of like a
CBD.
herbal joint. Yeah, but you didn't get high.
I was like, how do you roll this? Carrie's like, move over. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, and so it was just interesting how she felt like she couldn't be with us.
Yeah.
Just because she wasn't going to engage, But again, that's just like being solid in who you are, being able to be wherever you're at. And then if you really are uncomfortable, if you really don't like it, if you're really not having a good time, that's different. But if you're like, I really do want to hang out with everybody, but I want to feel like I can be sober and it's fine, then just do that.
Right.
Just do that.
But what's even more equally inspiring is if everyone's sober and you want to have the beer, have the beer.
Yeah.
It comes down to that foundational part of who you are, and are you solid enough with yourself? Like when the whole mask thing was like a thing with Corona and everyone was wearing their masks and the person who wasn't was like being solid in themselves. I loved seeing the person who wore the mask in the gym and nobody else was. Because I'm like, they're being solid in their choice.
Right.
They want to wear it. They don't give a fuck what anyone else thinks. And they're doing what they want to do. And to me, that's inspiring. So either way, with all of these things, like as long as you are solid in who you are, that to me, I'm like, I respect that.
Yeah. Yeah. Same thing for social media.
Yes.
Bruh.
That's a whole other can of worms.
That's a whole other thing is like social dynamics on social media.
Oh my gosh, I could go in on that.
We might have to save that.
I think we do.
We might have to save that.
There's so many layers to unpeel or to peel back with that.
Yeah.
Where, I think we should save that.
Okay. I have a question before we wrap up.
Okay.
So I'm asking this question because of like an experience that I had recently. Just thinking of what our social norms are and our qualities and our characteristics are. Do you have somebody in your life? Do you have like a relative or somebody that when you're around them, or like a family friend, just somebody in your life who you're like, I am so much like you. Like I gained so much of there's so much about me that is because of you.
In a good way or a bad way?
Whichever way.
I mean, absolutely.
Yeah.
As much as careful with my words here. My mom is a huge, like the person who I am is really because of my mom. And what I'm noticing as I get older is the not so great qualities are definitely a part of me. And I can catch myself falling into those behaviors. And I'm like, whoa, 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 Casey, like stop. Do not strengthen this quality because we don't like this. But then my mom is so smart. She's so business savvy. She can get anything done. She's such a badass. What she's created for her business and what she's been through, I'm like, that's where I get all this from.
Yeah.
Like I get all of this from her.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, I could say the same about my dad because he's like the biggest influence in my entire life. But another one that is a very, very, very strong for me is one of my uncles from my mom's side. And I rarely ever see him, but I saw him this past weekend at my niece's birthday. And he's the uncle that inspired me to love singing. Because he's a singer. He shout out to my Uncle Robert. I love you, Uncle Robert. He played in a band when I was a kid, and it was like a Latin rock and roll band. Like they played like Santana and like all that type of stuff. Like they had like cumbias and all that. But he sang, he played the drums, he played the guitar, he played all the instruments. And he was, in my eyes, he was just the coolest fucking guy ever. Like, he was just a rock star in my eyes, you know? So as a kid, I'm like watching him and his band sing at all my Nana's ragers. My Nana used to throw all these ragers at her house. Like the Mexican parties that I'm talking about. And him and his band would be fucking filling the street with music, and I just would be watching him sing, and I just thought it was the most coolest thing ever, and I fell in love with music, and I wanted to be a singer like him. And I saw him this weekend, and he don't change, man. He's exactly
as cool as he was.
He's in the living room and he's playing all these old school songs. He's watching all the, I don't know what he had it on, but it was like all of these old music videos of Santana and all these old school songs. And he's in the living room and he's singing his heart out to these songs. And he's like, yeah, man, I remember when this song came out. And he's just like talking all these memories and stuff. And he's just like, right on, man. And I'm just experiencing him.
And it was still cool.
Yeah.
It wasn't
and I'm just like,
okay.
I'm like, I fucking love you. Okay. Like, don't get me wrong, he's fucking nuts. Like, my whole family, you know, everybody's a little crazy over there. And he's, you know, he's a human too. He's got his shit. But he's still him at his core. He's still an artist. He's still a fucking rock and roller. Like, he's just so dope. And me and him have a really special bond, and he knows it. And he brought it up to me too. He was like, man, Mija, like, I remember when you first told me that, like, you started singing because of me. He's like, I didn't know that. Like, he's like, that means a lot to me, you know? And because he's so proud of me.
Yeah.
He's so proud of me. Like, especially when I was in the music industry and that was like my thing. He was like, fuck yeah, that's my niece right there.
Yeah.
Like, I was so proud. And to this day, he still is, you know? But it was cool to spend time with him because I'm like, this crazy motherfucker, he don't even got no teeth anymore. Yeah, he ain't even got no teeth. Like, he's wild, you know? Like, this fucking guy right here, this crazy character.
I had a totally different person in mind. And when you said no teeth, I was like, oh.
No, bro. No, listen. Like, a lot of my relatives, you wouldn't imagine that I'm related to them. My Uncle Robert is a character, and he's just over there, and I have a video of him. I'll show you.
I have family members with no teeth also.
I have a lot of family members with no teeth because a lot of my family members were addicts.
Yeah.
A lot of them. Yeah. You know? It's just a normal thing. But
wait, are your teeth real?
Yes, man.
You're all, actually. Could you imagine?
No.
I would be like,
no. But anyways, yeah. So that's mine. It was sweet being able to like spend time with him and see him this weekend and just see him in his element and remember like this is why I was inspired by you as a kid. Like you're still a fucking rock and roller at heart.
But then there's also those people who inspired you thought were cool when you were younger, and then you see them as an adult, and you're like, you're lame. You're lame. Oh my gosh, what did I see in you?
Yeah. I've gone through that too.
Yeah, same.
All right. Well, we'll save social media and things like that for another time. But just like closing statement, you got any?
I think similar to what we wrapped up with last time, which was wherever you are in your journey, it is normal for these feelings and these thoughts to come up, whether they're in your friendships or in, you know, environments where you feel like you want to stop drinking or be sober. Like these are natural things for everyone to be considering and moving through. And I'm just hope that through these conversations, we're opening up a perspective that gives you that permission to explore those options if you want.
Yeah. I think the thing that I would say, the word that's coming up for me the most right now is the word grace. When it comes to social dynamics, is giving grace to yourself through the process of continuously solidifying who you are out in social settings, and giving grace to others who may not live like you, who may have different lifestyles and make different choices and things like that. Because again, we all are human. Yeah. This is the human experience. Everyone's trying to figure it out. Most people really are doing their best.
Yeah.
And we have to just do our best to operate in the energy of grace and love with people. Truly.
Love that.
Yeah. All right, you guys. Until next time.
Yes.